Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the GEICO 15-Minute Moto Show. I'm your host, Ralph Sheheen. You know, I'm sure you've heard about Supercross and Motocross, but do you know much about Arenacross? Well, we're going to talk Arenacross racing today with the two-time Hoosier Outlaw Arenacross champion, Michael Hicks. How are you today, Michael?
Good. How are you, Ralph?
I'm doing great. Tell the folks a little bit about Arenacross and why it's different than Motocross and Supercross.
Arena cross is different than supercross and motocross. It's a little bit smaller stadium. The jumps are a little smaller, but it's not. It's just as hard because you have to be really smooth and technical, and it requires really good skill. And it fits me well, and I love doing it.
Yeah, basically you're in an arena, right? Like a hockey or
Yeah,
basketball arena, as opposed to, say, a major league football or baseball stadium, which Supercross would be in. And then motocross is outdoors over natural
yeah.
terrain. You said it's very technical. In what way is it very technical? How do you explain that?
So the turns are half the size of supercross turns, and especially outdoor tracks. You got to know how to slide the back wheel. The rhythm sections are way closer together, little room for error, just like supercross, but not as steep. So you can run a little bit softer suspension, which is what I do. And but you gotta be on it. I mean, you got last weekend was a 25-second lap time. The weekend before that was 19 seconds. So the laps and races go by fast, and you just gotta be perfect.
So you got to be very aggressive in this form of motorcycle racing, elbows out, pretty much, I would assume.
Yeah, you got dudes right on you off the start. It's 13 guys heading into uh 7 8 foot wide turn, so it's really tight racing. And I've been doing it reading across for 4 years, and I've pretty much perfected it. And you just got to have a lot of confidence going into each race, knowing that you can win, and also knowing that you got other dudes behind you that want to beat you. And the only way to pass is, you got to be a little dirty in the turns, and you got to be aggressive. So
All right, so let's talk about that, Michael. I mean, here you are, a two-time champion. So you're expected to set the tone for how the racing is conducted, but at the same time, you're saying you got to be a little dirty. What qualifies as okay dirty and as opposed to not okay dirty?
I try to be as clean as I can. I'll pass somebody um, really clean if I can. If they're gonna be dirty, I can be a little dirty back. But if you straight up take someone out, I mean that's dirty. That's a given. But you can bump them in a turn. I've bumped a couple dudes this year already in the turn, just because I mean that you got one main line and you got to take it from them. But yeah, I think if you take someone out, it's dirty. But if you bump them, you can. There's some rubbing in there you can do and get away with.
Is there a time of the race where it's okay as opposed to others, meaning like, hey, last lap, last corner, everything's fair game?
Yeah, I think last lap, the LCQ is always interesting. I haven't got an LCQ this year. I haven't had to do one yet, but I watch them from the stands and they get real interesting on the last two laps. But yeah, I think rubbing's more a given in the last couple laps because everyone wants to get on the podium.
Right, right. So the goal, of course, is to get the whole shot, get out in front, and let them all try to catch you then.
Yeah, and I've always been horrible at starts, and just this year I got hooked up with tamer holeshot devices, and they actually give me a rear holeshot device, and it allows the back end just to stay a little bit more stable coming out of the corner or out of the start. And I think I've pulled every holeshot, but I think two in the first two rounds. So it's been helping me a lot, and I mean that's definitely what you want is to get out front first.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. A whole shot device is not unusual, pretty much pulling the front suspension down, locking, and help the rider get out of the gate. Running a rear as well as the front, that is something I hadn't heard a lot about. So, how does that help you with the front?
So I always was the same way. I was like, man, how can that? I didn't get how it could work because you're kind of just leveling the bike again. And I always thought the front would let the back dig a little bit more, but with the back end down, it keeps the bikes more stable and it won't wheelie out of the gate. So when you come out, you're more positioned in the center of the bike and you're staying straight up and down. And it just allows you to get a shift right out of the gate. And then also with the shock and the tires I run, the Hoosier tires, they hook up great. And it just allows my bike to track perfectly straight all the way out the gate. And then I can focus on shifting and getting in front of everybody.
Takes one thing out of your mind then.
Yep.
A lot of riders, when they come into arena cross, a lot of them dream of going on to Supercross, but you've done that, you've tasted it, and you've said, I'm an arena cross guy. Why?
So I've always rode BMX bikes my whole life, and it's more technical, and I can move the bike a lot, which really good with Supercross. But um, as we all know, Supercross is expensive, and arena cross pays just as well. For me, being a privateer, not having I pay for everything. So doing arena cross, it's smaller scale. I can make just as much, if not more, than Supercross, and also it fits me well. I go to Supercross and no one really knows who I am, but if I go to arena cross, everyone knows me. And I really like to make a career out of arena cross. I know you could, especially with it being on Fox Sports this year. That's big.
There's some guys like Buddy Antunez who made tremendous careers out of arena cross competition, Hall of Fame level careers. Is that what you're shooting for?
Yeah, I want to get a lot more exposure and just see where it can take me. A Supercross ride would be awesome one day, but for what I have right now and what I'm good at, I'm sticking with arena cross and gonna see where it plays out. If one day someone wants to give me a ride for Supercross, I'll definitely take it. But I'm kind of dealing with the hand I've dealt with right now.
We've heard of other riders. Jeremy McGrath, I think, was really the first one who made the big transition from BMX to moto and having an incredible career based on it. And he said that what he learned in BMX really made him become the king of Supercross. What is it about BMX riding that has turned you into such a great arena cross racer?
Just being, I think, consistent because I go to the skate park and they got a rhythm section, and you can't over jump the jump or you're not going to make the next one. Which that's also with arena cross and Supercross. You got to be perfect and smooth, and it's given me a lot of bike control. Like I can kind of what other guys don't do is manualing. Like when you manual on a BMX bike, I can manual some of the rhythm sections if I over jump or something, and it just keeps me moving fast pace instead of just hitting the face and then slowing down and potentially getting past. But it just give me a lot more bike control in the whoops, the rhythm sections, and everything. And I even have some buddies who race BMX bikes. One of them is a pro BMXer, and he's never rode a dirt bike in his life. And then a year ago, he got a dirt bike, and now he's just as good as some of my buddies who's been racing forever. And it just shows the skill on a BMX bike can transfer over into dirt bike.
You were talking about manualing on the BMX bike. Explain to the folks what you're getting at.
So if you have two rollers, like a normal guy would jump it, but on a BMX bike you can manual it, which is you drop the back end in between them, and it allows you to stay lower, and it's a lot faster. So with arena cross, there'll be if there's a roller after like a whoop section, I'll be able I can wheelie up and over it instead of actually hitting it and catching airtime, which is slower than manualing it.
Keeping that wheel on the ground, driving you forward.
Yep.
And so in some ways, it's the arena cross version of what a scrub would be in Supercross, where instead of flying high and far, you're staying low to the ground, getting back on the ground, and driving forward.
Yeah, it allows me to stay lower and just keep the tire on the ground and keep me consistent.
So, all great BMX riders have a lot of flair and a lot of style. So what's yours?
I try to stay loose on the bike. I every finish line, if I win, I'll throw a little whip in there and all that. But my style is just kind of loose and free, just kind of like a free rider almost. And I wear like the fast house gear and all that, so kind of plays a part with all those free riders. But yeah, I just try to stay smooth and consistent. That's kind of my style.
Is that all part of the image?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I like the fast house gear. I'm really particular about my gear setup, my bike setup, how I look. Years ago, when my dad was buying all my gear and stuff, it all didn't look the best. So now when I'm making my own money paying for it, so I pick and choose what I want.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about, do you still ride BMX when you're not racing the dirt bike?
Yeah, so obviously I have a 9 to 5 job every day of the week, except for on Fridays when I go to Arenacross and race. But so I got a whole lot going on, and the BMX thing is kind of what keeps me active. So I'm not able to. There's not a whole lot of Arenacross or Supercross tracks near me, so I'm not really able to go train somewhere. So, and it's been working out for me. Is I'll 1 or 2 nights a week I'll go to the skate park and just ride and just stay active, and then I go to Arenacross on the weekend and try to do my best.
That's interesting because in the world of moto and supercross, the guys are training their brains out.
Yeah.
And the training has evolved in so many different ways. So with arena cross, are you not worried so much about your physical stature or strength as you are maybe about just your free feeling, flowing, and ready to go?
Yeah, so I just try to so a couple years ago I broke my back, and so I was in the points lead and I ended up breaking my back, so I went back to arena cross, and I the first one I was like I lost all my strength and all that, but I progressively doing it, I got better at it and got my stamina back. So I think just racing does it for me. I can learn a lot from racing. I mean, you can practice all you want, but you'll never learn what you're going to learn in a race by practicing. But it allows me to just ride more instead of focusing on the physical strength of it. It gives me the more stamina and be able to last 15, I think laps are 15 laps. But
Got it. So as you get into this championship season, which is now underway, what's going to be the key for you winning title number three and three in a row?
uh, I'm just going to keep perfecting my starts, get them down perfect, staying aggressive. You know, the first 2 laps are very important. The first round I didn't get a couple good starts, and I had to be aggressive on the first 2 laps. One of my biggest advantages that anybody else has is I'll hit the whoops just as fast as I want. Since I run a softer suspension, um, I have to hit them faster, but it only makes me go faster and do better in them. And then also the soft suspension helps me corner in the turns a lot better than everybody else. We went to that first round, and I noticed that some of those Phoenix Honda guys had stiffer Supercross suspension, and you could tell they were struggling in the corners, whereas I could just go right through them because my suspension can set up in a corner. But going through the year, I'm just going to try to stay smooth and consistent and not make a whole lot of enemies with everybody I race with. And because everyone that I race with, we're all pretty good. We all know each other. We know pretty much where we're going to finish, and we're all super clean. You might have a dude come in for a weekend and he might be a little dirty, but most of the kids I race with, they're all really good kids. And it should be a good year, and hopefully we can keep the train rolling.
You know, you talk about setting up the suspension that way. What's the feel that you get with the soft suspension as opposed to the harder?
Like I said, the turns, and actually, the first year I did arena cross, I was on Yamahas, and I was stock Yamahas. They have really good suspension, but they're pretty soft. And we hadn't got my suspension done. We just went straight to arena cross to try it out. This was 4 years ago, my first arena cross A race, and I had to hit the whoops faster than anybody else because my suspension was so soft. So it helped me learn how to hit them just kind of bonsai. I'm really I right now I'm on KTM, so suspension's a little bit stiffer. Now I have good suspension now, but my first year on a KTM, it was a lot stiffer than I'm used to. It's got the air fork, and it helped me a lot. But yeah, like going in the whoops, I don't think my front wheel touches until the fourth or fifth whoop because I'm just confident in myself to get in the suspension to go right through it. But it just helps me. I mean, even the fact of scrubbing, you can scrub a little bit harder on a stock or on a soft suspension than you can on a stiff suspension.
I love it. Hey, Michael, best of luck to you this year. We look forward to watching you as you chase championship number three.
Thank you. Yeah, and I can't thank my sponsors enough. Hoosier Tire, Big St. Charles, Tamer Holeshot Devices, and Redline Oil. Those dudes are awesome. Fast House, and then my mom and dad, just everybody.
Hey, Now that is spoken like a real champion right there. And you got mom and dad in there. That's
Yeah.
probably the
Yeah.
most important, too, of them all. Keep an eye out for Michael Hicks, the two-time Hoosier Outlaw Arenacross champion, going for title number 3. I'm Ralph Sheheen. We sure hope you've enjoyed this episode of the GEICO 15-Minute Moto Show. We'll have more for you right here on Speed Sport in the coming weeks.